My name is Mark Anderson. I'm a senior applications engineer with Saratech, and I do specialize in CAM products, and I've been using NX for quite a long time now. So for our agenda, what we're going to do is we're going to overview what we're considering a multi-user environment. And the first thing we should discuss is why is this a benefit and what are the pros and the cons to this? So if you're using your root installation, out of the box installation, every time you save a tool, you update a template that's independent to anyone else that's running NX. So what we're trying to give you is ability for everyone to share the exact same data. If user A saves a tool, as soon as it's pushed to the library, it's immediately usable for user B. The same with the templating. We don't want to have multiple versions of the same template out there. We want to have one template that everybody uses, and if it needs modified, then it's modified, then everybody uses the same modified file. So we're going to go over this construction of how this is done. We're going to go through the description of the folders and the files that are needed to do this. I'm going to give you an introduction to environment variables and how NX processes data on where things are located. Then we're going to go into customer defaults that are unique to this environment setup. So NX has produced a couple of different customer defaults selections now that directly redirect where it's looking for additional pieces of information. We'll go through that a little bit later. We're going to go through an explanation of what the Ugii env.dat file is, opposed to the Ugii env.dat file, and what those drive and what purpose do they serve. Then we're going to discuss what the resource folder and its contents, what do they do for the CAM environment, and what information is located in that folder. So now, as I said before, with customer defaults, now we have a custom folder. And what is its intended purpose, and what does NX do with the custom folder? And then what is the startup folder? These are the files and folders that make up this environment. And we're calling it an environment because we're creating an independent environment that it becomes your production environment, that you have an independent icon that you launch for, that opens up NX, opens everything out of the box that it's supposed to, but just the data that needs to be shared between users is then opened so that everybody's looking at the same thing. Then I'm going to go through a demo of creating this environment, and then I'm going to show you how you test it, and then we're going to discuss the benefits of this setup compared to modifying the root hard drive. When I say the root hard drive, I mean the out-of-the-box installation. So first thing we're going to discuss is the Ugii env.ug.dat file. And I know that the names are very close together, and it's very easy to select one instead of the other, but once they're opened, you'll definitely know which one you have open. The file on the left is this sets all of the root and environment variables that NX goes to look for. So when you click the mouse on NX and that directs you to a specific file folder to find a piece of information, the Ugii _env_ug file sets all of those. It's not to be altered at all, period. The main thing, most thing that we can do in this is we can use it as a template so that we can go and find the variable to look at the exact syntax that it needs, and then we know how to redirect it. And then you can see in the right-hand file, in the red square, it specifically says that this is a redirect file. Anything that needs to be overwritten will be in here. So when you launch NX, it directly goes to the _ug file. Once it loads all the variables, then it overwrites the variables that are listed within the Ugii env.dat file in place of those. So that's the methodology that we tell NX these particular files and folders are in a different location. So now the network location construction of the resource folder. So as you can see, if you look inside of this, you can see our configurations in here, our features, our libraries, machining knowledge, post configurator, the post processors. So everything directly related to CAM is driven out of this particular folder. So we also have the mock folder that's one level before this. The mock folder holds all the pertinent data that needs to still be maintained with the update process. So the resource folder, there's very little pieces in this that get updated per release. And when I say release, these are just the maintenance pack releases, like going from 2000 to 2007. Once there's a whole version update, then this will be overwrote in the new version. So all of the information that the manufacturing uses is within the mock folder, and the pieces that need shared between users lie within the resource folder. So the custom folder, now let's discuss what this custom folder is. The custom folder and one of the default selections, customer default selections, drive to this folder. So when you saved a tool in NX, once you pushed it to the library, it updated your individual hard drive. So it went in and it rewrote the tool library to add your tool in it. Now it doesn't rewrite that. Now with the continuous release, it goes to the custom folder and it adds the file that it needs. So now again, NX has a redirect automatically within it. When you go to select a tool, it first goes into your individual hard drive. If it doesn't see the tool that you are trying to select, then it will go to the custom folder. So what they're doing is they're making it to where we can have these automatic updates come through, and it is allowed to push all the updates through to the individual hard drive of that machine. And then we get all the pertinent updates that we need, but yet there are small independent pieces that need to be updated using an environment. The previous method of doing all this was to where we had the entire mock folder or the entire resource folder somewhere else, and then we had to maintain this manually. So they're giving us different abilities and different selections to be able to automate this process to where if we do update our hard drive, then how much data needs to be fixed for us to get to our current production environment as we were before the update. And going through this process will streamline that, creating this environment where we've now taken out of the chain of updating the information for manufacturing, the entire hard drive updates with all the other NX updates, and we have very small pieces like template updates or tooling updates that we may need to manually take care of once the update's done. So the custom folder is a NX automatic redirect for where you're saving your tools from, or saving your tools to. Now the startup folder, many of you have created your own machine templates where you go into the file new, you have your own independent tab there that has your particular templates in it. And previously we had to go into the actual folder structure and put it into the folder that NX needed to see. Now they've given us a very quick redirect to where we can put it in a startup folder. We have our own PAX file that drives that tab with our templates. And once NX launches, it goes to the original folder where this lies. It doesn't see it. Then it processes out to this environment, looks through the startup folder, and it processes this PAX file. So now when an update takes place, we can just grab the resource folder from the new update, the custom folder, the startup folder. We can place our information within the startup folder and the custom folder directly into those folders because there are updated tooling in our independent PAX file. Within the resource folder, we will have to then copy in what we've changed. So any custom templates that we had, we will have to then copy them into the appropriate areas of the resource folder, which is still a far cry from what we used to have to do to maintain this type of setup. So if you do it any other way, you're going to either be maintaining a lot of data, or you're going to be not sharing enough data. So this is the best practice solution to having multiple users looking at the same information and being able to maintain it through updates. So an overview of the network location and construction. I'm going to show you where does the Ugii env.dat file live, and then where does the custom folder live, the resource folder and startup folder. And then I'm going to show you how we process the shortcut to be able to utilize the environment. So now let's do the network construction. You should have a network location that every user has access to. You have to have read and write capability to that. It has to be fully open for you. And then you're going to copy this structure. Now, where did we get this structure from? I'm going to show you in the demo just shortly after this, but we're going to have the custom folder, the resource folder, the startup folder, the icon for that version of NX, and then the Ugii env.dat file from that version of NX. So now let me go ahead and show you a demo of this. So here I have this test environment. So what I would do for this, to create this, is I would go into my hard drive. Let's open another File Explorer. And I go into the root directory of that installation of NX. which typically is program file Siemens. We're doing the 2007 version. So what I did is I would take, as you see here, I would just directly copy in these pieces of information. I'd go into the mock folder. Here lies our resource folder. I would copy this into this file. Here's our startup folder. I would copy this into this file. And here's our custom folder. I would copy that into that file. So now that leaves us with the icon and the Ugii_env.dat file. So we will go into the C drive program file Siemens, what version we are on, and then we scroll down to the Ugii folder. Within this folder lies the Ugii_env.dat file. So we would then copy that into this. Once we have these 5 entities copied, we're going to go back to our network location. And this is where I leave my, where I'm starting to build. I leave both of my file explorers open at the same time to the same place. Then I go ahead and open up this Ugii file. I'm looking to redirect where my custom folder lies, my resource folder, and my startup folder. These are the variables that drive those particular folders. So what if you don't know what the correct syntax is or the correct variable to redirect? That's when comes into play the Ugii_env_ug file, the one that you're not supposed to alter. It makes for a very good point of reference. The version, we go to Ugii. Now we have the Ugii_env_ug.dat file. So now what we can do with this is we can use this as a reference to search, edit, find, and I've typed in resource. So I hit find next, and then it says Ugii cam custom directory is the custom folder. Cam resource directory is a resource folder. And then it lists all the different variables that it's setting. So that's how you find what syntax you need to use for the variable redirect. So once you've found the variables, you're going to then paste them into your Ugii file. You come back to your environment here. The startup, or the user directory needs to be this level. So I just click here in my address bar, I copy this, and then I'll come over here and I'll paste it in after the equals. I would do the same for now. I'm going to set the custom. So I'd open the custom folder, come to the address bar, copy this, and then I would paste it in after the equals. We just have to remember that we're going into the folder, not to the folder. So it must end with that / or \, whatever we're calling that. And then we would do that also for the resource folder. So now that when we have this completed, we're going to go ahead and then save that. Now, how do we get this icon? We're just going to simply go to our start menu. We're going to go to our Siemens folder. And then we're going to send to our pin to start. Once it's pinned to the start menu, then I would just send to, or open file location, I'm sorry. Once we open file location, this is where this icon is running from. You would right click, send to desktop as shortcut, or this, you would copy it and then put it into this file. So once you have the out of the box icon copied over to your environment, we're going to open up the properties. You're going to see that the original starts in C drive program file Siemens NX 2007 Ugii. We're going to tell this icon we want to start at this location. What that's going to do is it's going to drive all of the methodologies that I previously discussed. It's going to first launch NX. It's going to launch all of the out-of-the-box environment variables. It's going to set all the data. Then it's going to come directly to this location, and it's going to pull this Ugii file. It's going to then redirect these pieces to these new locations. And then all we have to do is have this shortcut here copied to each user's desktop. You do need to name it something different so it's distinguishable between standard versions. But once you launch this, I'm going to go ahead and close this. there's an easy way to test this. We are going to launch I have a version of NX launched out of the box. We come to menu, help, log file, and we do the same thing that we did with the Ugii file. We're going to find, and we can type in the same thing, resource. We may have a couple different names, resource, but we want to select to where when we see over at this side over here to our left after the number, the actual resource. So we have our CAM configuration directory, custom directory. Here's one that we redirected. CAM custom directory, the resource directory. Here, you can see that they're both still looking at the hard drive. So this is an out of the box situation. So now what we do is we do the same process, except we launch our icon that we just created. So by launching this icon, it follows the process that I just described, but it's launching our environment. And this is it. While this is launching, this is the process that I use for our customers. So if I have 150 customers out there that are utilizing their own different versions of NX with different templates and settings, they physically have a environment for that version for them. So that when I need to troubleshoot, I come and I launch this icon and I'm using exactly what they see. Now we go menu, or help, I'm sorry, log file. We do the same thing. We search. I just know that it's down here. So CAM, Ugii, CAM, resource. You see now that this environment is redirected to this D drive. And it's redirected to the D drive for these different pieces that I redirected it, or pieces that fall within those pieces. So just because you redirect the resource folder and not the samples folder doesn't matter, because it falls within the resource folder and it will then be shifted to the other environment. So you can see now that this is what I'm now running a custom environment. Now, going back one step, when I showed you the startup and the PAX file, one way that we can test and see is we have file new. If you have your own independent, you see I have manufacturing tab here. I have all of my standard templates, but now I also have this new tab, CS Test Environment 2007. And this has a couple different simulation kits in there. So you can see that now I'm running an independent separate environment. And then when updates take place, you let those updates roll through to your hard drive of your machine. Your check will show that you have the correct version, you're up to date, but you will still be able to run that custom environment the entirety of this version. The only time that you have to be manually adjusting things is you want to read the release notes of each revision, each release. And if it says, hey, we've added neck diameter in our tool data now, that's a big deal. You should probably make sure that you've got all the updates taking place throughout your templating. Or if we've done a modification to planer milling, you may want to make sure that you've updated your planer milling template to whatever you have customized within it. But this is the least invasive way of having a shared environment. Okay, so I showed you how to construct and I demoed how we did the new shared environment. I showed you how you can check within your log file whether you have everything set correctly or not, and if you are being redirected to your environment. One piece of information, you see the underscores in here. There is a way that you can set spaces within your folder names or file names, and NX will take it, but it's much simpler to just not include spaces or dashes. So always use the underscore for any type of spacing on all of your naming conventions, and you'll have much less to worry about, or you won't have to learn the // syntax for sending a directory location. So notable takeaways. Operating from a shared location, it eliminates multiple databases, tool libraries, and custom items. It allows for rapid deployment of new versions of NX, and it allows all the data created in a user session that is saved to the library will be available amongst the user group. And then all systems are out of the box at the root drive. That's really a big deal because before we altered a lot within NX. We did our installation, then next thing you know, we had different types of structures, and we would go in and alter our PAX files in the root directory to where once you start customizing, it makes it hard for everybody. It makes it hard for you to maintain. It makes it hard for us to troubleshoot. Doing it this way, you can physically send us your environment. We can plug it in, and we can be looking at the exact same thing that you're looking at. So it makes it to where it's a better solution all the way around. This is not just a CAM specific solution. This is something that can work for any of the environment variables. A very good example is our Mold Wizard product, our Progressive Die Wizard, or Engineering Die Wizard. When they're delivered out of the box with NX, they're delivered with an empty data set, which means that you have to go to NX, the Siemens website, download that large data pack for all of your screws, washers, bolts, lifters, all of that hardware. And then you have to put it in a shared location, and the directions in it, it tells you to go in and modify the Mold Wizard variable. So instead of doing all that, you could just save that location, that data to a location. You could copy the icon, copy the Ugii file, copy the Mold Wizard variable, redirect it, launch from that icon, and you could be all using the same data. And if things change, if you go up a version, you just replace that data pack to that network location instead of each individual person's hard drive. So there's many different applications to this. And I did want to mention that Saratech does provide a service where we maintain these solutions for you. So you just tell us we're running version 1980, we build your solution, incorporate your templates, your modifications. Then you call us and say, we want to move to 2007. We send you a new environment. You run an icon, launch NX, run an icon, and that's the most you have to worry about.
But one question came in from Jesse, Mark.
Okay.
Jesse says he has his current UGS template.pax file under the mock folder. How do you have it directed under custom?
So that was the slide where I showed you the startup folder. The way that you were doing it is the previous method where that's just the way we had to do it. That was all we had. So the way that you would do it is you would put your custom PAX file in the startup folder. And then what NX does is it reads that original location first, then it goes to your environment, sees that redirect and says, okay, there's something in the startup folder. It happens to be a PAX file, and then it completes its task. So you doing it within the start folder, running the methodology I just showed you, it will make it to where you don't have to, each time that NX does an update or you do a version, complete version update, you have to have a saved copy of that file to put into the new location. So you have to manually do that. Doing it this way, until you get a version update, you just simply use that icon that redirects to only the folders that need redirecting, but NX itself has been updated.
All right. We have a kind of a related question. So how does all this affect the continuous release?
So this is the reason why this came about, was because Siemens understood that before, as soon as you do anything within NX, you customize it, you take it offline, meaning that once you run an update, that information is either going to be overwrote or you have to do a manual process to re-implement your customization. So the way that NX saw the continuous release going to where we were going to have monthly updates instead of every 6 months getting an update, and then we had maintenance releases, maintenance packs. So with the advent of continuous release is the reasoning behind the advent of the additional variables, the additional customer defaults, and the methodology that NX is now seeing. Because there is another place where customers should really be keeping an eye on, and there's 2 new customer defaults within NX. If you go to your file, customer defaults, utilities customer defaults, and then software update, you'll see 2 places that have check marks. And if you hover over the information window, the information icon, one is use latest libraries. If you have it checked, NX is going to do the process that I told you, where if you save a tool, it's going to go past your root database, and it's going to go out to that custom folder, and it's going to look for additional tools. If you do not have that checked, it's going to go no further than your own root directory. The second one is use latest templates. So the way NX produces the updated templates is you don't have it in the root installation of your NX. When you first load the base version of NX, you don't have this update folder. Once you do an update, you will see this update folder populate. In that update folder will house a templates folder. If you go into your hard drive, you're going to see C drive program files, Siemens 2007, mill planer template. But then you're also going to go in and you're going to go into the updates folder and see a second mill planer template. If you have that checked, then it's going to look at your hard drive first, and then it's going to look at the updates folder to see if NX has put an update to that template. If you don't have it checked, then it's going to look at just your template. So you have to fully understand that those checks and those options and where it's actually looking at pieces of things. So if you do a network location any other way than this, some of the customer defaults in the ways that NX has changed the way it processes things may come into play.
All right, thanks, Mark. I think we have time for one more question. So Carol asks, although not supported by NX, we use the customization that is available through the PLM Community Customization Forum. This sets all these up automatically to share from a network location. Any advantage to one over the other?
So that is a controversial question. So, and the reason why I say that is that product that you're talking about, NX Custom, if you look at the history of that tool was built and designed by an application engineer that worked at Siemens to best configure all of the different environments that he needed for his customer base. He maintained that tool the entirety that he worked at Siemens, but Siemens never sponsored it. It's not a Siemens tool. You won't see a Siemens sticker on it anywhere, which also means that no one has thoroughly went through that tool from an IT perspective to make sure there's no malware, no vicious attacks, nothing like that. And I don't want to put it out there like there may be. It's just no one has actually went through it and made sure. So from a company perspective, we can never offer that tool to our customer base until it has been verified and there are no security issues. So that's one reason why Saratech won't offer that tool to customers. And if our customers are using that tool, we're going to try to steer them away from using it because there are inherent dangers to using something that's not sponsored by a software manufacturer. One thing I do not like about the custom is that when it uses DAT files, so every time you run a DAT file or a BAT file, you're specifically setting computer variables, not Siemens environment variables. Once you set that variable, if you disrupt the process, so if you launch a version of NX, then you shut down a version of NX, then you ask me for support, I go in there and I launch the regular icon of NX, some of those variables that were set by that BAT file or DAT file will remain, and they're not nulled like the strategy of NX does. So there's complications that can take place with using the NX custom, and there are unsatisfied security issues that us as a provider can't offer to our customer base. Even though it could be the best thing on the planet, we can't touch it unless it's a Siemens product.
Thanks for all of the insight and answering all the questions, Mark. With that, I thank everyone for being on this session today.
Thanks for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest engineering news and information. And to see all of our upcoming events, please visit our website at saratech.com/events.